proper meal?
Is he fat? Is he thin? Did he teach you how to swim?
Can he dance? Does he sing?
Did he push you on a swing?
How's your father? How's your father? How's your father? How's your father?
Is he there? Does he care? Did he hug you like a bear?
Did he die? Did you cry? Did you get to say goodbye?
Is he young? Is he old? Did he do what he was told? Is he this? Is he that?
Can he be a proper brat?
How's your father? How's your father? How's your father? How's your father?
The Common Lot is a participatory theatre company based in Norwich, making shows with, for and about the people of Norwich. I really, really believe in the social power of theatre. I think theatre especially has a place to play in bringing people together, in raising their awareness, in helping us to chew through difficult subjects. And there's nothing like the live experience and theatre to do that, really. And so I'm really interested in theatre beyond entertainment, if you like. I'm interested in theatre and its social purpose. So How's Your Father is the project that we've currently got in production, and it's a collaboration between ourselves and the UEA School of Social Work and a men's charity called Men's Craft and Children's Services, and we're looking at fatherhood as an issue with dads who perhaps have had more of a struggle than some, and why that might be, and how fatherhood plays into people's identity, and what being a father means, and what not being able to be a father means.
Talking about fatherhood means taking on a few big issues.
Gender inequality, masculinity, feminism,
Patriarchy, male privilege. I mean, looking after kids is more of a mum's job, isn't it? As a rule.
What do you mean by that?
Hello, I'm Chris and I'm a co-facilitator of Dads Matter Understanding Dads. Now that's Norfolk Children's Services response to work with dads right the way across Norfolk. We often find that the dads come along and they're not really wanting to get it. It's another hoop that Children's Services have given them to jump through. But by the end of the 12-week course, hopefully we've gained their trust. They often want to come back. They want to have a better outcome for their children. If we can help them along that road, then I'm more than happy to do that. I absolutely love my job, and I get the results at the end of that. Once they learn to trust us, because we're Children's Services, we're a grey, homogenous lump telling them to jump through hoops. Once they come through that door and understand, meet me and Trav. Travis is fairly eccentric and I'm not. So this project has just been amazing for me. I mean, my day job is Dads Matter, and my thing I love to do at the weekends and evenings is the Common Lot. And then two projects merging together has just been a dream come true.
I'd been doing this research on fathers for the last sort of 6 or 7 years, and I'd always felt, you know, as academics, we're expected to get our research out in the world. You know, it needs to make a difference, it needs to be in people's minds and get people talking. And although we do things like write for academic journals or we do training with social workers, you know, we do different things, but I've for a long time felt like there must be some more interesting ways that we could get this research out there. And you know, we had all these really rich, powerful stories of fathers' lives, and I really wanted to do something a bit more creative with that.
It's not okay. What did the midwife say?
Oh, she's a stuck-up cow. I hate the way she looks at me. Anyway, I know my limits.
You never know your limits. I should have seen it coming.
When the baby came, it was pretty quick.
Men's Craft is based in Norwich. We work across the county, and we do lots of different projects. It's about men and boys' well-being and development. But what we wanted to do with the play really is highlight some of the situations that fathers face, and their stories don't often get told, and they can get left out of the picture quite a lot if they're involved with children's services, or they have to go through the family courts, or when families are breaking up sometimes. All these kinds of things where perhaps fathers get left to one side. A social worker who's coming in and doing the observation. So, yeah, You know, I've heard guys talk about, oh yeah, people there are really nice.
I'd got to know Andy and also Trav and Chris, partly because they'd helped us with our research and also because of the organisation Menscraft. And so I knew them anyway. And then it turned out that Simon also was interested in this topic and was wondering whether they knew any researchers, you know, that had an interest in that area. And so there was I and there were they, and we got together and just tried to figure out, you know, how we could create a piece of theatre that was grounded very much in our research.
9 months inside.
This stuff is a smokescreen.
Pushchairs.
Pushchairs in the park. Pushchairs in the park.
One-hander.
Oh, Steve is the best. Maybe this is a crossing point for Will and all the others. I mean, we were approached with the idea to make a show about a man's issue by Menscraft. So, being a man, I was instantly interested in working with another fellow charity in the city. And we sat down, we talked about what is the men's issue that we want to see. And we hit on this idea of fatherhood because one of our lead performers runs a thing called Dads Matter for social services. And very often dads feel excluded from their ability to be a good dad for whatever reason. It might be that they're stopped from seeing their children by the court order, or they might be intimidated themselves by their idea of being a father.
This is Will's whirlwind.
A new family.
A master's degree.
A steady job. Job that matters.
Before he's 25, he's married.
And happy. And planning a family of his own.
My dad always wanted to be a granddad.
We're going to do everything properly, aren't we?
As far as we can.
We talked about
We're
it.
not your traditional couple.
It's going to be 50-50 all the way.
We're going for a home birth if we can.
I'm going to be there.
You'd better be.
So the first thing that we did was that I shared some of the quotes and some of the stories, examples of stories from fathers in our research. And then we started to look at that and try and figure out what are the key ideas here. Are there any common themes or really important points that seem to come through? So that was a sort of starting point. And then from there, we began a process of trying to come up with some sort of key characters. It's not about any one individual dad's life, but we were pulling together all of those stories and those experiences and looking for sort of common themes, I suppose.
No, but he's not like that anymore. I mean, you know, we've got what we've got. It's different. It's different. I understand him better.
We also
And
have,
he's,
we
you
have-
know, he's doing his best. He's doing his best.
And it's obvious because you're pregnant as well. We've got concerns about the safety of yourself and the safety of your children. You've got to understand that, don't you?
Yeah, I know, but I am safe.
We need to consider what's best for you.
It's really looking at the paradigm around fatherhood. We need to challenge the paradigm that allows fathers to opt out easily and puts it all on the mum. But we also need to challenge the paradigm that sees fatherhood as optional. As a mum, you have to kind of prove that you're not a good mum to have your kids taken away. But as a dad, you kind of have to prove that you are a good dad. Now, that is broadly true, and that's very interesting, and it brings up all these questions about why. Why do we think like that? Why is society like that? Surely there's an issue there that we need to look at.
I have to prove myself. Not her. Oh no. She's mum, isn't she?
So we wanted both to challenge professionals such as social workers and people in the family courts to really take fathers seriously. And we also wanted to kind of challenge fathers to say, yeah, we're going to step up to the plate being fathers too. It's about trying to highlight some of the problems that fathers can get into, and then what happens as a way of trying to get professionals and bring fathers much more into the picture around their children.
I just want to understand.
So what? A little bit of blood and now you've got time for us? We should do it more often.
We're so selfish.
Me? You're the one that's never there. Well, Henry wants us to spend time with you and you can't even see that. You're never there, not even for Mark.
I am there. I tried to be. It's very difficult.
We're investigating a subject that matters, that's really important, and you're working with people who work with dads all day long. So when you work with people who've got that level of investment in the subject, you know, you kind of, as a theatre maker, you get really deeply into something. You know, we went through this whole devising process, like weeks and weeks and weeks of working together, working out stories that we knew could be true.
So he's going to have to take her to court because he wants to see his kids.
When you work with people who really know their subject, you kind of really do mine something. You get really into it. You get really interested and into it. Yeah, I'm a dad and I've got personal experience and, you know, I can talk about that. But actually, you know, what about dad as a thing? What about fatherhood as a societal issue? What do we need to examine? What are the things that we're not conscious of?
Back from the sound.
Do you think I'm nuts? Do you think I'm nuts? Do you think I'm nuts? Do you think I'm nuts?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
So we did a lot of improvising and working together to kind of act out and just play around, try and build those characters.
We've got quite a lot of stuff in the files, and there's a lot of concern there.
Like what?
Well, the concerns of his previous relationship.
Yeah, I know about his previous relationship.
I mean, this didn't feel completely unrealistic. There were moments of comedy when, like, Trav went, and stuff like that. But
we need you to just calm down.
It's all right, Don. It's all right.
We need you.
Look,
Let him have a fag.
who gives you the right? Come round here and tell us that.
Go out in the
Do you
garden.
want to go out and have a fun?
I'm kind of laughing, but I'm actually cringing.
Yeah, welcome to our world.
Yeah.
Some of the stories are about what happens to dads when there's a social worker involved or when a court is involved. We also needed to check that the stories we would tell are credible and plausible and that the things would have happened in that way.
We started the process by thinking, oh, let's raise this issue and let's talk about this issue. And of course, you had to deconstruct the patriarchy to talk about it well. So in the end, we thought, well, we can't really do that. But what we can do is we can tell 4 stories that could be true, that are inherently filled with dilemma and contradiction and ambivalence. And that's really interesting. We're not trying to resolve the issue, we're trying to raise the issue. Because I don't see anyone else doing it really, certainly not through theatre, so that's what excites me about it.
Do our faults and mistakes only raise the stakes for keeping some skin in the game? Where does the past belong?
So we've chosen 4 different issues. We've got a guy that's a serial parent, lots of different partners, but has got to a certain age and actually wants to be a parent this time. And the question being, does he get a chance this time? Does his past follow him through? And we're not answering any questions with this play. We're just shining a light on something that a lot of people don't realise goes on.
It's all going on inside. Everything. Everything just comes out as anger.
So we've got another guy that was quite happily having his weekends and suddenly gets thrust upon he has to have full care of the child, because that's one of the issues, isn't it? Men are not natural child carers, but we're just the same as women, but the social construct has made us into you're this type and you're that type.
18 months later, and Alfie is born.
After my granddad.
It's hard. All day, 2 of them, it's hard.
Yeah, well, I've got to work, haven't I? I mean, someone's got to own a keep. I don't see my mates anymore. I play football on the weekends, but that's about it. I mean...
We've got a guy that's got no, on the face of it, issues, but is not in tune with his emotions and can't parent because of that, you know, but on the face of it, he's a very good dad. He takes them to ballet, he takes them to football, and he does everything, but doesn't give himself emotionally.
Come on, it's your birthday, eh? Look, come on, let go.
You just have to pick him up. Let him know that you're there.
He's so shy. Do you think there's something wrong with him?
There's nothing wrong with him.
He's so quiet.
There's nothing wrong with him.
Right, fine.
The last one that hasn't had a father himself, who's been through the care system and is just about to become a father, and I think that throws up so many questions that can ask the other dads in the process at the end there. I don't know if that sounds a bit airy-fairy, but that will sort of wrap it up.
I mean, you think it was theirs. Court reports, assessments, judgments to be made, a life on file, school excludee, cannabis smoker, 14-year-old twocker, labels on top of labels.
This was a really interesting role, obviously. I have a father, as do lots of people, but this was a really interesting look into a side of life that I think people don't often get to see. It was also my first proper acting thing, So yeah, it's been really exciting and I've really enjoyed it.
Now, Nanny State brought me up. Thanks, Nanny. Thanks for all the foster carers. Thanks for putting me in a home. Thanks for dealing really, just really well with my behavioural issues. For trying to normalise me. Look, I'm an adult now with a pathway plan.
It was definitely a big step up. I'm a dancer, so I'm used to performing, but less used to doing acting shows. But I've loved every second of it, and it's been really awesome. So.
I was saying to the cast yesterday that, you know, this show will live or die on their ability to be clear about what character they're playing at any given time. Because even though we're telling 4 stories, each man in the show will take one story and stay as that character for that story. When they're being other characters in another man's story, they have to be the wife, they have to be the social worker, they have to be the shop worker, they have to be really clear physically about who they're playing and how. So it will live or die on the ability to change and the ability to keep the rhythm and the pace up. Because it can't be boring.
So what are we saying? That mums do more, that dads don't cut it?
Dads love just as hard as mums, don't they? Hope he was kind to you.
It was great to have Kathy on board. She just graduated from the UEA, so there was a real world project for her to do, and actually she kept us all in tune. You know, she could remember what we did last week.
It's been a learning experience for me. I kind of came into the environment and it's been like, I'm just going to take every little bit that I can. Obviously main thing, directing and stuff like that, but yeah, just kind of help the process a bit, help it flow a bit easier, and just learn a lot from Simon, to be honest.
And then you're neatening it up and and by the 4th house your father, your will.
Yeah.
It's nice up here, isn't it?
There's a lot of quick changes. Choreography is very key in this performance, and we've found that even if it's a short amount of pages, it takes a lot of time, a lot more time than I think we anticipated. So it's more like, what's the easiest way to get this character here? Let's switch it up a bit, let's change the scene. What can these characters do with, change their positions, and what does that mean? There's a lot of deep thinking going into it.
Roll with the punches, Mr. Steve. Then you come back into the middle again.
Stacey's not perfect.
Yeah, oh no, you don't. You can talk to him.
Oh,
Stacey's not perfect either.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be there when she needs me to. Not like you.
The actors are very involved in the process. They love to get involved and be like, maybe my character would do this. I feel like my character wouldn't do that. And we're like, yeah, no, you're totally right. And that happens quite a lot, and it helps the process so much.
Yeah. We leave it, we go, stuff happens, we come back to the same table. It's the same family table.
That myself.
It's empty of will, it's empty of something.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's leave it, but let's move the position.
Oh yeah, we need to get out of it.
You need to get out of it, leaving him at the table on his own.
We're in a process where we're just working out how the play looks and what I call getting it on its feet. So we're continuing to get it on its feet before I then start getting a bit behind the actors to learn their lines so that we can just move it without a script in our hand. But tonight it's going to be script in hand. It's going to be like, let's do it this way, let's try it that way, does that work, does this work? I'm opening it up for suggestions from the cast because I tend to direct a bit collaboratively. It's good, the dynamics between the cast members are good so far, but we're only 2 weeks in. There's going to be plenty of opportunity for falling out. I usually say to people, there'll be a moment before you're up that we'll all be really stressed. There will be a moment where it all collapses in on us. It always happens. The tension will get to us all. We've been there before. We'll get through it. But at the moment, it's pretty good, and they're very focused, and that's the main thing. They just come ready to work.
Breastfeeding in the first year or so.
And no dummies. We've decided.
Or disposable nappies.
No.
I'm going to be really hands-on, so Naomi can do her masters.
Eventually.
Hattie is the only female actress, and she's amazing. The energy she brings into every performance is so good. I mean, they're all amazing, but I think when it's about men's issues, you have to think, how am I going to sensitively bring in women? There's a lot of issues around that, so we've handled that really well, and Hattie just brings a burst of energy. The chorus is so much fun, and they do different things for each actor as well. The different identities, there's a lot of multi-rolling going on all the time, so the energy has to stay at the top, and they're really good at that.
play is very ensemble, and all of the guys play women as well, but I play some key figures too. So I play some mums and some grandmas, and some girlfriends and women who become pregnant when they weren't planning it and if they didn't want it. It's really exciting because we're exploring the dynamic of if a child suddenly appears with a couple, and obviously this is a play about dads, but you've got to have a woman, you've got to have that oven there, the other side of it.
Not this again.
You're not playing happy families with my kids.
And then she starts getting slack with it.
And you're Alfie, put my shoes off.
Abby,
What?
I just noticed
What?
that Charlotte's clothes, they're in a right state, so I just bought some new things, that's all. Steve is a bit of a lad.
Meet Steve.
Hi, Steve! Alright? How's your father, Steve? My dad? Oh, he's alright. He don't say much, really. Mum's the boss of our family.
Steve's family live in Old Catton.
Moved up from London when he was a kid.
Still support Chelsea though, 7-0, Super Blues!
He's a lively lad.
Mum is very much a dominating kind of figure for him, so he's got a very clear idea about what mums should be. It really falls apart when Steve realises that the mother of his child and subsequent children doesn't fit that mould. What did my mum say? No, we're going to do this properly. It'll be brilliant. You'll see, you just see.
He takes her places. Cooks her her favourite meals.
Anything you want. Steve's saving grace as a character is his love for his children and his willingness to do whatever he can to help them eventually. It's embarrassing! I got home. She went straight to bed. She was out of it. She didn't want nothing to do with me.
So my role is Dan, who has got a bit of a difficult upbringing himself, and then a few things went wrong in his childhood. He ended up in a young offenders institution when he was 16, and life just sort of spiralled out of control, really. It turned out that he had a child at 16 that he didn't find out about until it was sort of one night fleeing just before he went in prison, and then he was in prison, so he lost that child because the girlfriend's parents took over, understandably. He hides behind a front of not caring, but he spent nearly 30 years chasing children through social services and having children taken away. He's a contradictory character because you feel for him, I hope, but equally there are times when you probably wouldn't want him looking after children.
There were some older boys. Mates. They'd get me doing stuff I didn't always want to do.
I thought you said you got a key.
Yeah, I have. It's here.
Come on, hurry up.
Come on. Shh. Keep it down, lads. Oh! Your granddad got any glue in it?
What is this home?
No, don't touch that. Don't touch that. Yeah, look. I bet this will. No, don't be long. Hey.
It's quite close to home, some of it. Yeah, the first time we had a read through, I kind of cried for real, actually, because some of the story kind of rang some bells with me. I'm very close to my kids, but that sense of not quite knowing what your role is as a dad early on, I kind of maybe felt that way for the first month or so, and then my kids smiled and I felt differently. But I could, even from that time, I could imagine how it would be to never really click in.
Work and more work.
Christmases and birthdays.
Happy families.
I guess for the first year of each of my kids' lives, when my then partner was doing maternity leave, it's quite easy to sort of opt out a bit. I can see how you could start on that path and just not really change it. So yeah, it hit home. Yeah, and I found it moving.
Settle down then. Okay. Yeah, good.
No, don't start this again, okay, please? Hey, how'd you like that? Oh, come on, you've had your supper. What's wrong with you?
The identity of being a dad is a very formative thing. You know, it's a thing that actually encourages men to grow up. And if they struggle with that, then they really seriously struggle. You know, they can't, if they struggle to be emotionally available for the kids or even to see their kids, I think it really affects a man's identity. It really goes to the heart of who he is. And sometimes it's the thing that saves him. I know when my child was born, I kind of realised what life was about. I thought suddenly, okay, so it's not just about me anymore, and my heart is wide open. So I suddenly got my whole life turned on its head. Now I'm a dad. But what does it mean? What does it mean I should be? And how does it mean I should behave? And it's just a really interesting subject that we don't really examine, I think.
We've worked very closely together, the six of us, and we've disagreed as well as agreed, and we've sort of figured things out really productively along the way. It really is a sort of collaboration. I think it's a new way of working for all of us. We've all learnt a huge amount from working together like this. It's been great.
What's that?
Slice by slice.
Are we slicing it or are we laying out?
We're slicing it. Maybe read a story, then folks will always say that I am nice.
It's a dream team. It's all dream team. Everyone's so open and kind because so we're all there for each other. It's a lovely group and family dynamic we're making.
So what we're hoping ultimately is to reach a range of audiences, and that's the Common Lots ethos. There will be some shows in Norwich, but also in Kings Lynn and in Yarmouth, and one here at the UEA. We're particularly interested, obviously, in performing the show to some of the dads that Chris and Trav work with.
I'm personally really looking forward to it. It kind of validates a lot of the experiences that I've gone through as a father, and really encourages us to speak out and say, well, actually, we are important as well.
This is Radio XFM bringing you one of the good guys.
Now you know that I'm a good man, and I go out to work. I'm bringing home the bacon slice by slice. As long as I get home for bedtime, maybe read a story, then folks will always say that I am nice.
The musical process has been interesting. I mean, we're working with Georgia Phillip, who's this really good researcher from the UEA, very academic, very serious work. She has discovered her inner songwriter, which is lovely because writing songs is so difficult. I just really can't do it very well. She's a natural. She goes on these long dog walks, thinks of the lyrics and the tune, and then sends me WhatsApp audio messages going, how about this? And sings it down the line at me. They're all great. I mean, I really do rate the songs in this show. I think they're good songs.
Cause I'm one of the good guys. I'm one of the good guys. And I do my bit. And I help out.
Another part of the process we've been working on for How's Your Father is to think about a kind of musical element to it. There's some very powerful, poignant, moving stories, but at the same time we wanted to bring those elements of comedy and humour as part of a way of getting across some of these serious ideas. There'll probably be a sort of small band alongside the cast to support the songs, play some music as part of the performance. So yeah, that's again another sort of creative collaboration that's come out of this piece of work.
Adding songs, adding lyrics that relate to their characters, adding a bit of comedy, all of those elements put together, it's just come for people that can maybe step forward and be like, I relate to this part, maybe not this part, but what does that mean to me? There's a lot of self-actualization going on.
We've kind of taken specifics and made specific stories up, and at the same time we've written songs that are generic to the theme. One of the songs is called Step Up. Being a dad means you have to step up to something different. You have to step up from what you were to what you're going to be.
If you can't be a property, well then son, you're gonna look like a bit of a knob. So you better step up, stop being a dad. This is the greatest job that I'll ever have. Step up, 'cause this is on you.
Make it the best job that you ever do.
We're here at the Millennium Library in Norwich, and we're doing the penultimate performance of How's Your Father.
I've just brought a few presents. Look, we just have to unwrap them, just to be sure.
Oh, she can't have a sugary drink, I'm afraid.
You understand? Yeah, of course. Say goodbye then, Dan.
Say goodbye.
I found it very moving. It's on the one hand, it's a very serious subject. It was poignant. It was playful at times. The music and the lyrics were very playful, and yet the characters were deeply touching.
It's been going really well, thank you very much. It's We've sold out every show. The Q&As have been really good afterwards. I've been surprised at how many people are hanging back to discuss the things we bring up in the play.
Just the ability of all the actors to change, to metamorphose from one character to another again, was extremely powerful. It was a fantastic tool in the narrative because nobody was stereotyped.
That's really nice to hear because we tried really hard not to do that.
Oh, you really did.
You know, there's a lot of pitfalls in this.
The question and answer sessions and the discussions that we've been having after the shows have just been so interesting and quite moving often. It's a much better way to engage a broader audience and get sort of public interest. Been touched to hear some of the the men in the audience, whether they're talking about themselves as fathers or that they've not become fathers yet, but they're thinking about that. So it's just been really interesting to hear some of the things that have resonated with them, being unsure about becoming a dad and connecting with things in the play, that some of which have reassured them and some of which have made them almost sort of question how it's going to be for them.
What's sometimes less obvious, and we see less of in our culture and around us, is like, how is it to be a good man and a good dad?
When it comes to feelings or emotional attunement, I'll stay at work an extra hours. It's an important job!
So this is the last show in the series. We're in stage 2, which is the second stage part of the Theatre Royal. So it feels like we're in a proper theatre, which is different and lovely.
Our notions of what makes a good dad have changed a lot.
They're still changing.
What's your dad like?
People have really enjoyed it, and they found it thought-provoking, which is the main thing.
I've been surprised. It's been surprising how well it's gone down for me.
Yeah, you never know, do you?
We've been talking about it for so long, haven't we? And we've been in it for such a long time, and then you sort of let the pigeon out of the box.
Yeah, and then you see it fresh through the audience, don't you?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, it does work. So, yeah.
And I've come as often as I could, and every time I've seen it, I've heard slightly different snippets, and I've gone away with different things that I've been mulling over. And the Q&A as well has flagged up so many interesting issues that we can take away and feed back into some of the training and development work we do for all of our workers, not just social workers, to help them think more about the perspective of dads all the way through the work we do.
Theatre and films change people's lives, and if the right people come and see it, it could really help, put some people on a different track, maybe a better track.
You never know how good your piece of theatre is going to be, but I can tell you that there's been so much thought gone into this that there will be some depth in it. There will be some layers in it.
Yeah. This is all about him being a victim of judgment before he's even become a man.
Whatever they think of me, wherever they put us, sure, I'm frightened. Of course I am. It's big. But this is one label that I'm proud to wear. I'm gonna be Dad.
Was he that was his sad? Did he drive you round and mad? Did he win? Did he lose? Did you want to fill his shoes? Did he die? Did you cry? Did you get to say goodbye? Was his heart on his sleeve? Did he teach you to believe? As your father, as your father, as your father, as your father. Yes, stepping up means jeopardy. And can you believe in me?
as your father.